Welcome to another VC Wisdom Pod with Giancarlo Vergine. He is a VC. He's empowering entrepreneurs and tech founders to grow and exit. He's raised over 90 million capital, or his clients did at least. He's an angel investor. He's an equity crowdfunding advocate. So yeah, his fund is called Over Ventures. He's founded managing partner there. Also managing partner at Chatwin Ventures. Also been a shareholder and advisory board member at various companies. So we're going to discuss his background today, his experiences, VC tips, startup tips that he has for us. And this podcast is brought to you by bookwritegpt.com. Just before we start, bookwritegpt.com is a solution that takes your LinkedIn posts and crafts a compelling book that you can publish on Kindle. So bookwritegpt.com. Giancarlo, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you've been up to nowadays.
Hi, Charles. Thank you for having me here today. So you already introduced me with a lot of stuff, but first of all, I'm the founding partner, and so I'm the CEO at Over Ventures. That is an advisory boutique and a VC advisory platform. We work together with venture capital angels and crowd investors, supporting companies, early stage companies in Southern Europe and Europe, funding, so providing them capitals and also expertise in growing. I'm in the tech ecosystem. I'm based in Milan, but I used to work all over Europe. I'm in the Italian ecosystem since 2016, but I started before to get in touch with the startup ecosystem, and so I would like to bring and my expertise and my how do you say, my help, my support to the European startups in order to make them grow easily. I cannot hear you, Charles. Sorry.
Right. And tell me about some of your investments, some of your
Yeah.
most successful investments so far.
Yeah. Okay. So in 2019, I decided to invest as an angel some capital in a startup in Italy, deep tech startup in Italy that raised overall in that round just 500K because it was a pre-seed, and they are a startup that now is growing, so they are a scale up, and they already they just raised a new bridge round a few months ago. They are in the deep tech, and so electric engine for a motorboat for boats and motorboats, and that was an exciting investment because. First of all, I decided to invest in the pre-seed. Then I follow on in the seed, and now we are supporting them also in the Series B with international VC and also Italian institutional investors. They also crowdfund in Italy and now also on Crowdcube. So. As you already say, I'm an equity crowdfunding advocate, so I like the company that make a different path in fundraising, so leveraging the venture capital and also the crowdfunding, so the community of crowd investors.
Right. And I see you also invested in a sex tech called Daphne.
Yeah. Daphne is an Italian brand. Is a sex tech because they sell dildos and some specific products in the well-being and the sex tech, and they are an early stage startup here in Italy, and we decided to invest with other Italian holding of angels and some VC in Italy like Life Gateway, OpenSeed, and so on. Because they apply a sustainability approach on this market, and so it was fun because it's a huge market over the world. but the products generally the products in the market are not eco-friendly, and so Daphne decided to make this approach eco-friendly, and so also for the well-being of people that use this kind of products, also in the sex market.
I can imagine a landfill full of dildos. Pretty sad sight. So does those sex cells? Is it like going well? This startup is like sex tech really profitable?
Okay, so sex tech overall, it's a very huge market. At the moment, they are growing faster. They are not a supernova because, of course, they are more an e-commerce. So they produce on demand. So they are not they don't have the manufacturing into the company. So they externalize the manufacturing of the products, but they have some their own products with their own recipe, also for the fluid and so on, because they don't only do dildos, but also creams, oils, and so on. And they are going very well, and they are in the next months probably they are gonna raise a new round, but the profitability is not bad because they are on average on the 40% or EBITDA.
Right. And you started your career in consulting as a consulting manager or in consulting management, quote unquote, Accenture,
Yeah.
KPMG. Why have you decided to go into investing? Have you created some of your own startups on the way there?
Yeah. So I started my career. I'm a management engineer. So I started my career in consulting, first in KPMG, then in Accenture. And it was for me that period of my life and my career as a sort of MBA on fields. So because I worked all over the world for several big corporations, and so it was a very training on the job. In 2016, when I was working in Accenture, two friends of mine decided to launch their own startup that was an equity crowdfunding platform. And I decided to help them in the launch of this startup, but it was for me the weekend job. After that, when this startup decided to get public and with an IPO in 2019, I decided to switch my career, starting to work full time in the equity crowdfunding platform, and so to work for by myself on this new startup. I worked full time in this startup until 2022, but in 2022 I decided to left the company and started my own one that is, as I told, more in the investment sphere, but as also a leg, a branch in advisory. So I decided to put together my expertise in fundraising and investing that I had during the crowdfunding experience, and with my consulting and advisory expertise. And so now we work together with investors, and we invest by directly also. But we work also with startups and companies on the advisory part.
Right. And where does it come in handy to have a corporate background or consulting management background vs advising a founder, right? Like what skills do founders have that you may not have, and what skills do you have that the founders may not have themselves?
Yeah. So of course, at the very beginning, it was difficult because corporate world it's totally different to the entrepreneurship and also early stage entrepreneurship world. So by myself, my expertise that the majority of the time the the founders don't have is the the skills to set the process into the company in the right way in order to have a management of the company to grow that can be easily manageable. That means, of course, in fast-pacing environment, it's very difficult to define process and to run process because sometimes you have to pivot, you have to change. The market isn't very stable, and so. But the approach, the methods you apply, and that I learned during my period in consulting, make me experience it on it, and I can transfer this experience to this to the founders in order to make them more how do you say, more focus on the achievement of the result, and also in order to manage the company in the right way, because sometimes the founder is very good entrepreneur because he has the idea, he know, he see the business, he see how to make money. But sometimes when the company grows, when the company fundraise, sometimes they don't know how to specifically invest the money and to make the company grow. So that's why we have our superpower. And our superpower is also to make the company comfortable to raise money easily. Because when you talk with an investor, you have to know what the investor would like to see. And sometimes it's not about the product, it's also your vision, is how do you want to achieve these results in that market, and why you are the man, you are the woman they have to support in order to achieve that result, to solve that problem, and so on.
Right. And what's the exit horizon like for you? Is it 5 to 10 years? And have you have any exit yet with the fund?
At the moment, we don't have big exit, just some secondary. So some exit made by with secondary. But the horizon is, yes. At the moment, we are raising on purpose. So we raise on. We don't have a specific fund. So we don't have, I don't know, 50 million to invest. But we raise on purpose for to invest in specific company. We are now working with some LPs in order to raise a fund that will have an horizon of usual open fund, so 8-10 years.
Tell me a bit more about the companies that you invest in, your thesis.
Yeah.
What criteria are you looking for when it comes to the business idea and the potential product market fit, and also the what you're looking for into a founder? What skills, what
Yeah.
specific traits are you looking into them and the team?
Okay, the thesis is early stage, so pre-seed, seed, European. At the moment, we are looking more in Southern Europe because it needs more support, more capital than Northern Europe. We are generalists, so we don't have specific verticals. But at the moment, we are looking more on food tech. But when we say food tech, we need new new proteins, so new food or new drink. We are looking at climate tech. We are looking at, of course, at the moment the buzzword is AI, but AI, it's all or nothing at the moment. Every business is impacted by AI, so we don't invest specifically in AI, but of course we look also on AI. Regarding the question on the team, of course we look at the team is our first point of decision, because in early stage you cannot evaluate the P&L. You have to look mostly on the market, on the solution you are trying to the problem you are trying to solve. And of course the team is the first thing we see. We are looking for for founders with the eye of the tiger, so the fire in the eye. So people that is well determined to solve a problem, that is not in love with the solution, but is in love with the problem. So that means if there is a problem that can have a market, so that can have payable customers, they have to be in love with the problem that these customers are very that can pay to solve this problem. And so I think that it's not very common to find very good founders, because in Europe at the moment we have great founders, but the problem is that instead of the US, Europe, we had less exit, so less and we are in this ecosystem, in this tech ecosystem, tech environment, since less years than the US, the Silicon Valley that started in 70s or 60s probably. So at the moment, the culture on startup has to be cultivated, studying or doing listening to podcasts, studying on the books. And so we invest on curious founders.
And how's the startup scene in Europe compared to the US? Is it slower? And also, how have you felt the economy in Q1 this year?
Uh, can you repeat, please, because I didn't get the question.
Yeah, the first one is the startup ecosystem in Europe. How does it feel compared to US startup, for example? Is it slower? Is it more? Is it
Yeah.
stronger in the clean tech field, for example? And the second question is, how have you felt the economy in this Q1 with your startups,
Okay.
with your investment, and so forth?
Okay. So of course, the European ecosystem is smaller than the American one. In the last years, the economic environment worldwide was impacted by several external political and geopolitical problems, and so the venture capital also is a mirror of the economy. But of course, in the US, the numbers in terms of capital invested in startups are very, very high instead of the European one. European is growing more than US, but of course, if you see the numbers, US is at another level at the moment. But of course, in Europe, we don't act as a unique country as the US, and we have 27 or 28 countries with different languages, different approach, different bureaucracy. So I think that is, for example, at the moment we have France and Germany that are the leader, with UK, of course, that is not in the EU, but they are the leader in Europe. At the same time, other countries that are in the G8, like Italy, are very on the bottom of the leaderboard in Europe in terms of VC. So they are starting to invest in venture capital since the few years, so 10 years more or less. So there is a big potential, but at the moment US are very strong, are stronger than the Europe. The same
Right.
in Q1, the economy. I think that now with the new the DAZI, the taxation that US is,
Terrace.
yeah. Also Europe on the digital company, the American digital company. I don't know about the economy. What I'm seeing is that the growing is continuing also in Europe. We are assisting to a good Q1 in terms of capital raise, in terms of mostly in Italy, but also in Europe in general. But of course, we have a big backlog in terms of technology investments instead of the US.
Right. What's your main goal for this year? What do you want to achieve?
This year, we would like to invest in 10, 15 companies, not only in Italy, but also in Spain, Portugal, and also in Greece, so Southern Europe. And at the same time, we would like to start the exit of some companies. We are now in touch with venture capital fund that can be interested in a portfolio company on the AI. We expect to grow in terms of business for the advisory part. In terms, we would like to invest in more companies outside Italy. So because in the first years we invested more in Italy, now we are going international. So we expect to invest more in the next months.
Love it. How's been the journey for you so far? Has it been challenging? And what do you do when things are not going your way in the VC round?
Okay, so usually it lasts three, 3 to 4 months when we start to take a look to a company and we decided to invest or to co-invest with funds, because we are very small fund. We are very small venture capital firm. So usually we co-invest with other funds that are lead, and so we have to follow also the due diligence made by the lead. And in the smaller investment, also through the crowdfunding, usually we have a timeline of 3 4 months. So it happens that we start to take a look to the startup. We start to get in touch with the founders, we need from 2 to 4 weeks to analyze, to make a first assessment. Then we start, if we think it can be a good fit for our thesis, or there are our co-investor think that we can invest with them. So it starts the process that can be from 2 to 3 months, more or less, in to invest.
Right. And what do you do when a startup is not performing the way that you want and your investments are generally not panning out? What's the mental process you're going through?
Yeah, usually we are hands-on, so because we have also the advisory part, so we try to help them in find the right way, because we look at anti-fragile startups. So that means that if there is an issue, if the market is not going in the way they foresee and plan at the very beginning, they need to find a solution in order to, so, and sometimes they have to pivot the business model, to pivot the market, and we try to it's very common, because the statistics about startups are very strange. We need to invest in 100 companies to have a result, no, an outstanding result usually. That can be a very small percentage, but sometimes that small percentage can repay all the effort with the right IRR for the LPs. But the mental process is to understand which is the problem and try to find the solution with the support of the partners and our network.
Last but not least, tell me about these two companies here. So, When in Rome
Yeah,
and Sealands. Tell me about these two and
yeah.
why you're bullish on these.
Yeah, Silence is the company I was mentioning at the very beginning, the one in the motorboat. So Silence now is fundraising a 30 million round with institutional investor, and they pass also from the crowdfunding in Italy and in Europe with Crowdcube. They are a very interesting company, and this is one of our diamonds in the portfolio. And When in Rome is a company we got in touch few weeks ago, but they were fundraising with the crowdfunding, and they have a very nice product. It's Italian product in a smart and sustainable packaging. So it's very. I think that in the future is gonna be in that direction. Not probably in Italy, but outside Italy, the can, the all that packaging you were. And so we fall in love with the concept and the brand, and we decided to. I decided to put as an angel a small, not like with Overventure, but by myself, a small investment as an angel.
Interesting. Yeah, I saw the prices of the wines, like 70 euros per bottle. How do they justify that?
Yeah, of course. At the moment, in some countries, probably the price will go higher. I don't know how.
Yes.
I think that the price, the wine is a good quality. So it's not the cheap wine. So because it's Italian wine from Italian wineries and so on, they make this premium price because, of course, the packaging, the sustainable packaging, has also a specific. It's a design packaging, so you can reutilize it. So I know that it can be not very popular, but it's very loved because it's a community-based brand. So it means that the community they created invested and to become part of this movement, and they are spreading the word with friends, family, and so on, in order to spread to make this the brand known.
Right. And last but not least, like Italy or the companies you investing, they seem to be products, right? Like physical products. Do you feel that Italy and Europe can potentially have an edge in software as well?
Yes, the point is, I think that in Europe there can be also a very interesting software companies, but the problem is that in Europe we don't have the big tech that US, for example, Google, Meta, and there are several Adobe or Oracle and so on. And so it's easier to make a software company, make a venture capital path, so a growing process, solve a problem, become profitable, and sell the company to one of these big tech. In Europe, we don't have this. We have very few big tech, for example, SAP, but we have more big companies in utilities, in brick and mortar industries. So it's easier to grow as a non-software company. But at the moment, I think that the software companies in Europe are going fast. For example, Revolut, that pass also through the equity crowdfunding, is the biggest unicorn in Europe, and they pass, and they are a software company because they are a fintech. So I think that we can do great things also in software.
Got it. Where can people find out more about you, Jan?
So you can we can get in touch on LinkedIn, of course. So LinkedIn, I used to be I use LinkedIn very a lot of the time. So it's my main entrance in my network, and we can get in touch there.
Right.
DM or yeah.
Yeah, that was Giancarlo's Vergine, and